What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about Star Wars: The Rise of Kylo Ren. This is a 4-issue miniseries written by Charles Soule with art by Will Sliney. I am not really sure what I expected with this book, but I didn't really like it. As I have said before, one of my biggest problems with the Star Wars sequel trilogy was it didn't feel like they had anything planned out in advance. You watch The Force Awakens, and it seems to me that they were planning for Kylo Ren to be the big villain of the trilogy. You have 40 years of people who are in love with Han Solo, and then this kid comes and kills him, and everybody is going to see that as irredeemable. You just killed my childhood hero. There's no way that we're going to be able to see you walk that back and join the light side. And then The Last Jedi seems to confirm Kylo Ren is definitely going to be the main villain. He kills the guy who was seemingly backing him as he was slowly making his way to the dark side. He's definitely going to be the villain. And then the Rise of Skywalker comes in and says, just kidding, there was another person behind Lord Snoke, and he was the one behind Kylo Ren turning evil, and Kylo Ren has been questioning everything that he's done this entire trilogy, and he's really not as bad as what you thought this whole time. And it just felt like nobody knew what they were doing making the entire trilogy, and I've already gone on many rants about that before, but when you look at a piece of tie-in media like this came out sometime in between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, it once again becomes clear that nobody really knows what they're doing. And I am not the biggest fan of Charles Soule's writing. Most of what he has written I have not cared for. I think there was one X-Men story he wrote that I liked quite a bit, but most of what he's written I have not enjoyed, and I don't even think that William Shakespeare himself could have spun gold out of what he was given with this miniseries. Basically, Soule has to show Kylo Ren go from being Ben Solo to being Kylo Ren, but since this was in that time period where nobody knew if Kylo Ren was supposed to actually be the evil villain of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, or if he's supposed to be just this poor misunderstood kid, Charles Soule really doesn't know what to do, so he kind of hedges his bets with this miniseries. You have Ben Solo. Of course, we find out in The Last Jedi that Luke Skywalker gets a vision that Ben is going to turn evil, so he is about to kill Ben, and then he hesitates, and then Ben wakes up, and then he fights Luke Skywalker, and then, according to this miniseries, the Jedi Temple just blows up, and I'm assuming that that was Palpatine that did that, but Kylo Ren acts surprised when that happens. So in the movies, it makes it seem like Kylo Ren is the one that destroyed the temple and killed everybody inside, but this miniseries makes it seem like, no, he didn't do that. So now you're thinking, okay, this is leaning towards Kylo Ren isn't as bad as we thought, which is what The Rise of Skywalker would do shortly after this miniseries came out. And then Ben fights a few other Jedi Padawans who were off-planet whenever he was fighting Luke. He wounds one of them. Then he goes to Lord Snoke, who looks like some kind of weird safari guide living on this cyborg forest planet. And then Lord Snoke apparently is in communication with General Hux at this point, and I still don't know where the First Order came from. I'm sure there's some miniseries or novel or something that explains that, but here Snoke is just chatting with General Hux at some point. I'm not sure why General Hux communicated with Lord Snoke, why this military leader thought that he needed some weird safari guide telling him what to do. I'm not sure how General Hux knew where to contact Lord Snoke, or how he even knew who Lord Snoke was. As we find out in The Rise of Skywalker, Lord Snoke is not real. He is just a creation that Emperor Palpatine created so that he could communicate with Ben Solo and corrupt him. I don't know why he went through that extra step, why he couldn't just telepathically communicate with Ben directly. Ben already knew that Lord Snoke was an agent of the dark side, because later he says that Luke Skywalker and Lord Snoke, neither one of them is interested in Ben because of who he is. They're interested in him because of his legacy, because of his predecessors. Ben is the grandson of Darth Vader. He's the nephew of Luke Skywalker, so they're not interested in him. They're interested in what he represents. So he even knows that Lord Snoke is up to no good at this point in his life. This isn't a situation like the Star Wars prequels where Palpatine kind of tricks Anakin into going down the path of the dark side, and Anakin, up until a certain point, thinks that Palpatine Palpatine is an A-okay guy. This isn't like that. Ben knows that Lord Snoke is up to no good. So I don't know why Palpatine couldn't just directly communicate with Kylo Ren, but for some reason, he creates Lord Snoke, who somehow has a reputation across the universe, because General Hux is communicating with him for some reason. And then also you have the Knights of Ren. Watching the movies, I was under the impression the Knights of Ren were some of Luke's other students that Kylo kind of turned to the dark side himself. Since the Knights of Ren, I don't think have a single line of dialogue in the entire sequel trilogy, which makes some rando stormtrooper more important than the Knights of Ren. Since they don't have any dialogue in the sequel trilogy, I didn't know anything about these characters. The only way that you can know about them is if you go and read expanded universe stuff like this. And this says that the Knights of Ren were around before Ben turned to the dark side. Well before. When he was like, I don't know, 10 or 11, these guys were hanging out. And I don't really know what the Knights of Ren are up to. I've seen a lot of people who wish that we could explore the different dichotomies of Force users. You have the Sith and you have the Jedi, and then I guess there's also Grey Jedi. I don't really know how that's any different than, or Dark Jedi, and you have Grey Jedi. There's a whole bunch of different levels, and then this introduces the Knights of Ren. There's this guy, his name is Ren. He's supposed to be really awesome because he takes his lightsaber and he burns his torso. And apparently Ben is supposed to be really impressed, and he's supposed to definitely want to follow this guy. And if I saw this guy burning his torso with his lightsaber, I'd think, that guy's an idiot. I don't want to be anywhere near him. I'm gonna go follow some guy who doesn't self-mutilate himself with a lightsaber. But this guy, his name is Ren, and instead of calling the Force, he calls it the Shadow. Which, on the one hand, I thought that was kind of a neat idea. If you had this group of Force users like 600 bazillion light years away, and they've never heard of the Emperor or Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, but they've heard of the Force, but they've never heard of like the Jedi or any of these other Force users, and they called it the Shadow, that kind of makes sense. But these guys are hanging out like in the same neighborhood that Luke and the Emperor and all these other guys are hanging out in. So I don't know why these guys call the Force the Shadow and everyone else calls it the Force, and I don't really know what the Knights of Ren are about. They basically just want to destroy stuff. That's their only motivation. And after Ben fights off Luke Skywalker, he goes towards Snoke on the Cyborg Forest planet, and then he says, I think I want to go meet the Knights of Ren. I think there's a lot I could learn from them. And I don't know why he wants to learn from these guys. All these guys want to do is destroy stuff. There's one point they're trying to recruit this Force user, and then there's two brothers, okay? And they're trying to recruit one of the brothers who is a Force user. And they say, but in order for you to join us, you have to give us a good death, implying you, the Force-using brother, you have to kill your brother. But as they're saying that, the other brother, he shoots the Force-using brother and says, okay, I'm ready to join you guys. And they say, you're not a Force user. So then they kill him. I'm confused because of this group, there's only one that has a lightsaber. All the others are just using like regular weapons like a mace. And so I'm a little confused. Are all of them Force users? I don't know. But anyway, Kylo Ren joins them because he accidentally killed one of his fellow Padawans whenever they were chasing him after he fought Luke. And then he's hanging out with them for a little bit. He's a little torn, which that's the story of Kylo Ren, I guess. This great villain that everyone is supposed to love, he's torn throughout every appearance he's in. But he sees at one point they are looking for some Kyber for some reason. I don't know what they plan to do with the Kyber. Are they wanting to make weapons so that they can destroy more stuff? Do they just want to destroy the Kyber? I don't know. But I got sidetracked earlier. After they killed the brother who killed the other brother, Ren, who is the leader of the Knights of Ren, he says, let's go burn some stuff. He says that a couple of times. So as near as I can tell, just reading this, the Knights of Ren, their only motivation is to destroy stuff. I don't know why Ben, who is really unsure what path he wants to go down, does he want to be evil like his grandpa, does he want to be good like his uncle, or does he want to somehow try to forge his own destiny? I don't know why he thinks that he can learn from the Knights of Ren. And then finally, the other two Padawans who he didn't accidentally kill, they find him, and then Ren, he kills one of the Padawans, and then Kylo, he goes and kills Ren, and then the other Knights of Ren are like, well, you're awesome, we're going to follow you now, and then Kylo goes and kills the other Padawan. And it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Up until like the second to last page of the book, Kylo is still pretty unsure what he wants to do, and then after Ren kills one of his fellow Padawans, then he's like, well, okay, I guess I'm just going to go kill the other one then. and it just kind of comes out of nowhere, especially since I don't have a clear grasp on who or what Kylo Ren is. If you watch each of the Star Wars sequels, he feels like a different character in each movie. I saw a lot of people after the sequel trilogy had finished saying that at least Adam Driver was a really good actor, even if the material wasn't good. And maybe it's hard for me to make that decision since the material was so flimsy. I feel like he's a different character in each movie. He doesn't really feel consistent across the sequel trilogy, and so it's really hard for me to get a grasp on the character in this story, since I don't know what this is a prequel to. In The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren, for some reason, is an obsessed fanboy trying to collect artifacts that connect to Darth Vader. He has Darth Vader's helmet, and he's really interested in following Darth Vader's path. In this book, he talks about how everybody is interested in him because of who he's connected with, and he just wants to be his own person. That is a major theme of this book, and yet, in The Force Awakens, he just wants to follow in Darth Vader's footsteps. That's because we have no idea who or what Kylo Ren is in any of his appearances. This book also, at one point, when he's talking to Lord Snoke, he says he hates the name Ben Solo, and then Lord Snoke says, well, when you go talk to the Knights of Ren, they're going to want to call you by something, so what are you going to call yourself? And then it doesn't say it, but it implies that he came up with the name Kylo Ren when he was a little kid. So Ren, I guess, comes from the Knights of Ren, because he kind of met them when he was like 12 or so. So Ren, I guess, comes from them. Where did the name Kylo come from? This is something that's always confused me in Star Wars. When you have someone who turns evil and suddenly they start using another name, where did this other name come from? When Anakin Skywalker pledges his allegiance to the Monster Mash, where did Palpatine get the name Darth Vader? Did he just make it up on the fly? Did 12-year-old Ben Solo make up the name Kylo and he thought, yeah, that's a really awesome name, and then Lord Snoke says, yeah, that's a really awesome name, you should call yourself Kylo. Children are pure, so you should call yourself Kylo, or something like. I don't know. I didn't like this book, and even though I'm not the biggest fan of Charles Soule's work, at least what I've read, I don't blame him. I don't think anybody could have made any sense of Kylo Ren's backstory and made something interesting and compelling that is also consistent with his film appearances. I don't think anyone could have done it. Also, at one point, once Kylo finally turns to the dark side, we get a big double spread page of like all these people kind of reacting to it across the universe. Leia is reacting to it. I think Luke is. We see young Rey. She's reacting to it. And then we see Lord Snoke and Palpatine both reacting to Kylo Ren turning to the dark side. And now I'm really confused, because in The Rise of Skywalker, we are told that Snoke was just a creation that Palpatine made so that he could corrupt Ben Solo. And we see a bunch of Lord Snokes in this cloning chamber, like a big giant fish tank. So why is Lord Snoke independently reacting like, oh yes, turn to the dark side, boy? And then also Palpatine is reacting to it. You would think Palpatine is basically just a puppet master controlling Lord Snoke. So why are they both independently reacting to this? I am so confused. I did not enjoy this, but like I say, I don't think it's anyone's fault who worked on this. I think they were given a pile of garbage and they were told to make it work, and they did the best they could, and it still didn't turn out to be very good. So those are my thoughts on The Rise of Kylo Ren. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, I will see you guys in the future with another one. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.